Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds back with our third installment of the 2024 rookie running back breakdowns. One of my favorite running backs in this class we're going to talk about today.
And we also hotly debate some of the lower level running backs.
Listen, there's a guy I love, but not at all.
Couple turd fergs.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
And he's Jared Wackerly.
Hello.
And we are back breaking down the final two segments of the rookie class of 2024 running backs. It's been very last two episodes, we said, hey, a lot of these guys are okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These next two episodes, I'm like, there's some good guys here, but a lot of guys that aren't okay.
Yeah, there's some guys towards the end there that they're going to be rough. We'll get through them.
Yeah.
We'll talk about them. We'll tell you why.
They're the doo-doo in the doo-doo pie.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we always say it is important to highlight both the good and the bad so we know what to avoid as much as we know what to draft.
I hope you brought your highlighter because we have a lot to highlight amongst these guys. So,
do you highlight in good and bad? One different one color for one, another
a red and a green or something like that.
Well, to be fair, I never highlight.
Okay.
Ever. But if I did, I would.
Yes, I think that's important.
Yellow for...
It makes it visually pleasing and easy to read and dissect.
Yellow for I'm not quite sure.
I don't know. I don't highlight, so I don't...
I don't either.
Green, yellow,
but
orange.
in theory.
I'm so lost.
Green,
I'm 44. I haven't been in school in a long time.
All right.
only old school.
I don't use a highlighter anymore.
School of hard knocks.
That's where I'm at. So we're back. We're going to jump into some running backs. I want to thank everybody who took the time. We asked last episode, this time of year, if you leave a rating and review on iTunes or whatnot,
helps.
hit that subscribe button, like button on YouTube, and got some people that hooked us up on there. So I shout out to them. If you do enjoy the show, don't forget to leave a rating and review. We always appreciate it. Now, are you guys ready to break down this third episode of the rookie running back class?
Yes, sir.
One before the final one. Then we get to these wide receivers. Thanks.
So we're going to take a little break, right? A 1 week hiatus.
Well,
Hiatus.
What's up,
Rich is
Rich?
taking a break.
We'll still be here.
I'm going to Vermont.
Covering prospects.
I'm going to go snowboarding for
Prospect
5 days.
break.
With my children.
Yep.
If I can, because my son broke my back yesterday, but we'll see.
You should not have been wrestling him.
I should not have been wrestling my state wrestling kid. No, he literally hurt me. I had to go to a chiropractor today for 2 hours.
He's a big boy.
All this technology.
And you're old, man.
But I work out. This is what drives me crazy. Like, I work out. Like, I can easily out-bench him. I could do all, but like, he is
wrestling, though.
unbelievably strong.
Yeah, wrestling, you get muscles in different areas that just normal workouts can't
all the areas
give
that I can't defend. He's like Bane and Batman.
Yep.
There goes my back. Snap, backle, crackle.
I was born in the darkness.
Matt, please tell us about our first running back.
Our first running back is Trey Benson, running back from Florida State. He was 6 foot and 1/4 inches tall. High. He's 6 foot and 1/4 inch high. 216 pounds, 9 1/4 inch hands. 31.5 inch arms. He's got a wingspan of 76 3/8 inches. He is 21 years old. He'll be 22 in July. In the 40, he ran a 4.39 with a 1.52 10-yard split. Nice time.
Cooking.
In the broad jump, he did 122 inches. He had a 33.5 inch vertical last year at Florida State. In 13 games, he had 156 attempts, 906 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns, 20 receptions, 227 yards receiving, and another touchdown.
Yeah, not only is Benson young out of Florida State, but Trey Benson also has a lot of tread still left on that tire.
You got it right that time.
You did use it correctly.
Crushed it.
Only 316 total carries and 33 catches in college. So he's ready to go. And I'm going to say this is, out of all the running backs that I've watched on tape, this is easily, and I don't mean that, okay, he's clearly my running back one. I wouldn't say easily because there's a couple guys behind him that are pretty good
really
too.
Solid, yep.
But he's in a tier of his own. Like, there's like the other guys, I'll let the draft capital come decide. And to be fair, like if Marshawn Lloyd goes to the Cowboys, like, and Trey Benson goes to Tennessee, I don't know, like he'll go down.
They're close enough to where that would factor.
Please don't put another running back in Tennessee.
It could be bad.
So don't put that into the universe.
You just never know what's going to happen. So, but sometimes when like guys like Gibbs go to like Detroit, and you're like, "What is going on here?" It ends up working out for everybody.
Yeah,
it works out for everybody. So for me, Trey Benson, there's a lot of things to like here. When I watch this guy, you mentioned how explosive he is at that 40 time, the 1.5. Like it shows up on tape. This is somebody that I saw every single game bust off a huge run. Every single game. And he's got really good contact balance. He's got really good feet. And I know we were talking before the show, like Matt and Jared, like they didn't love like his agility, like his lateral movement.
He's a little stiff laterally. I mean, it's almost like a robotic type of movement at times. But he does, I think, make up for it. You mentioned that. In the explosion, you know what I mean? Once he gets going, he's able to still separate from guys, but it's just maybe not the most natural and fluid movement for him when he's going side.
He's no Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
He's no DeAndre Swift, but I feel like his feet are quick enough where he could still make defenders miss and he could still win. And he also, I love his quick feet inside. Like he moves inside the tackles really well, finds those holes, gets there. He's big enough, strong enough to to move that pile, to break those arm tackles. And if you give this guy an inch of daylight, he does have the speed to just go. He's very explosive. Great contact balance. I love the initial burst off the line as well that I see here. His size is great. He's not afraid to lower the pads. Can make defenders miss. I know the lateral ability. And I agree with you guys for sure. Like he's not
going to string together moves to like make.
No, he's not Reggie Bush out here.
But and what's nice is because of his size and his speed, he doesn't really have to. Like
I don't want him to necessarily.
No, I want him to bounce outside, one cut, and go.
Yes, he's more of when you look at like archetypes, he's more in the Adrian Peterson archetype where he's going to be physical, he's going to get north and south, he's going to make big explosive plays. He's not going to be stringing 2 and 3 moves together to make guys miss. So sometimes guys play out of their natural lane, and I want him to stay in that lane. I want him to be more the Adrian Peterson type, the Nick Chubb type, the guys that, hey, let's make one good move and go. Let's get upfield. Let's get north and south, and let's break some arm tackles, things like that in the open field and go.
Yeah, and just like Nick Chubb, he's viable in the passing game. Like he's not going to go there and run some good routes, and that's his hips would probably slow that down a little as well. But he's very viable in the passing game. I didn't see him drop one ball out of all the tape I watched.
I had in my notes that he had some odd drops.
Did he?
Yeah.
I had one that I saw. That was it. So I only saw one. I watched 6 games on Benson. I only saw the one. So it was definitely, and he looked natural doing it. Didn't look like he was fighting the ball or anything like that. So
that was going to be my note on it. I didn't see any of the drops. I've watched 5 games on him. So maybe I just haven't gotten to the games.
It's a pass fail. He can catch the ball.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. He does it pretty naturally. He's not fighting it or anything like that. So.
Yeah. So something else that I noted, there was some talk about his vision, and we have a lot of all 22 on Trey Benson. I loved his vision. I did not see the question marks people had on his vision, and there's one minor point that I'll get to where maybe this is coming from, but overall, I thought he did a great job at being patient, letting his blocks develop, especially on some of those counter plays, those power plays. He seemed to really have a good natural feel for it, and those are the types of schemes that I want to see him go to. Not that he can't do the gap schemes. I think he'd be fine there as well. But I think he identifies the holes well. And when he sees it, it's an instantaneous, boom, go. Like right now, he's not hesitating. He's going. Now, the one caveat I'll put with that, and this was a negative for me, there were times where it seemed like he tried a little too hard to hit the home run plays. And then you would just see these weird instances of indecisiveness when he was trying to do that, and he would turn what would have been a 1-yard gain or a 1-yard loss or around the line of scrimmage into a 3, 4, 6 yard loss. So
like the first play of the game versus
the
Florida, right?
The very first play of the game against Florida.
7 yards he lost.
Yeah, and
then lost 2 yards the very next play.
Yeah, and like right away, he had 3 or 4 different instances to just get upfield and just take what they gave you. But he was trying too much. So there are some, there's not a lot of them, but there are a few sprinkled throughout his tape where I think he is trying a little too hard to hit the big play, and I want him to just get what's there. But overall, the meta narrative of Trey Benson is he is a downhill runner that is going to make some big plays. And I really liked what I saw.
My number one weakness I had down here too was his indecisiveness as well. Which is, again, sometimes he does show really good patience, but that could sometimes hurt a player. But for how young he is too, I'm like, okay, that could be coached up. That could be like, hey, no, Trey, we want you to follow this block and go. You make the decision after that point. We don't need to see you here dancing. We need you to go. So, like you said, it showed up on tape, but it wasn't a concern for me.
Not
and I'm with you.
consistent thing.
I liked his vision. I thought his vision was really good. I thought it was really good in open field, and I think that with his feet is what helped him make a lot of those big runs that he had. Yeah. And what I really liked his vision as well was in between the tackles. Like when he's in there and he's pressing, like he could see, he keeps his head up and he's big enough, he could still see, and he'll find the right spot every single time. And I love that kind of vision too in between the tackles, because that's the difference between being stuffed at the line or getting 1 yard and then getting 3 to 4 yards.
And I think he understood leverage of defenders really well too, because he would do a really good job of like pressing, and then even where he would cut, he wouldn't cut so far outside that he would get chased down. He took good routes. Like he really understood the leverage of defenders and angles really instinctively,
and who he can outrun,
yeah,
which is important. I mean, if you're a running back, you need to know where that I can beat that guy to this spot, and then we'll take it from there. Whatever happens, if someone else comes along, we'll deal with it then. But I do think he does all that kind of stuff well. He's a guy that can operate inside just as easily as outside. He's got all the bits and pieces to his game that he needs. And I said, in my notes, I have a lot of the same stuff. Like he's a find the hole, hit the hole, go type of guy. And I agree that's where he's best. And I didn't see a lot of dancing. Maybe I just kind of construed that as him kind of just being patient and waiting for things to kind of develop ahead of him.
It wasn't even more so dancing.
It would just be small bouts. It wouldn't be a lot,
Yeah.
but you'll see it once or twice a game where, and you could maybe disguise it as patience as well, but where it's weird because so often when he saw a hole, he would hit it and hit it hard. Yeah. And then, but there would just be these small times where the hole developed, but he was just a little too slow and indecisive, and then tried to like bounce it or cut it back inside. And then it got all muddied.
Yeah.
So
I'll
it didn't happen
out.
often,
Yeah.
but I would say probably 5 or 6 times as I watched his tape, there were moments where I was like, right there. He didn't see it quick enough.
Or like he saw it, but he didn't know if he was
Second guessed it. Yeah.
Like, should I go? And he doesn't. And then he said he's forced to bounce outside. And now where you get to like that 1 yard gain.
Right.
Along those lines. So
Well, I think we got another 5 games that I can watch.
Yeah, we have a lot of tape.
a lot
of this guy.
I
So
think
I'm gonna dig in a little
one.
more. Right.
He's everyone's either RB1 or RB2 amongst all of us, right?
I think so, yeah.
Garrett
Garrett
and I's RB1 and you and Matt by RB2,
Yeah.
but Matt
splitting
Point-
hairs.
point
literally
0.05.
the smallest of margins
And
as
Garrett-
far as
I mean, something we didn't even hit on in his profile, and it correlates exactly to why you have him RB1. I mean, he tore his ACL, MCL, lateral meniscus, medial meniscus, and his
I
hamstring.
love all those guys with bad
in
knees.
2020, where he thought his career everyone thought his career might be over at that point.
which
but
for me, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
He was so young. Like that's
I think it just speaks volumes to who he is to
Work
even
ethic,
come
to
back
get
from
back,
that
yeah.
to be considered a top back in a class.
And what year was that?
2020.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
was a while back. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was when he was at Oregon.
Okay.
Because that in the following year he only had 6 carries for 22 yards, so he didn't even rush the fall. He didn't play at all the following year.
Yeah, so
But
we
yeah,
thought
he tore it
Marshawn
all.
Lloyd, who tore his ACL, also was going to be your top back, but you found a guy
I found another one that,
that
had
even
a worse
had
knee
a worse
injury.
knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's I like to try to stay consistent in my analysis.
It's
Last
just funny.
thing, it's weird. It really is. The last thing that I will highlight is, as a small negative, he is a little bit of an upright runner. Overall, I would like to see him lower the pad level.
What'd you think about his pass pro?
Uh,
Because I graded him out at a 5.
See, I had some positive marks on his pass pro overall. I thought his feet were pretty good, and there were times he missed.
I'm sorry, 6.5.
Oh, okay.
Lloyd was 5 for me.
I thought it was
Okay, I had low marks for Lloyd as well.
So,
but
so for me, I had a guy sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
You're
off. I
good.
didn't mean to rich you, but
Ooh.
for a guy that didn't catch many passes, I feel like he was out in a lot of pass routes.
he didn't do a lot of pass protection.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of. I'm like, I don't have a lot to go on here. You know. What I
Yeah,
mean?
and there's a few guys like that in this class where it's
Right.
like you got like 5 reps to determine if they're good at pass protection or not.
I had his vision graded tied for best in the class too, Garrett. So
I
I liked it as
I
well.
liked it.
I mean,
Yep, I had it as one of the best ones in the class as well. So, yeah, it's weird. I heard it from a couple people that they didn't like his vision, and I'm guessing it was those moments of indecisiveness is why they put that there. But you could tell when he recognized things, man, he recognized and he was hitting it. Like I really liked it overall.
I haven't watched any of these receivers yet, but this for somebody for me is clearly a first-round grade. If you have your rookie draft Superflex time premium before the NFL draft, like this is somebody I'm taking in the back end of the first round easily. I would say by the time the NFL draft comes along, I think he gets day 2 draft capital. Maybe he's even high as the second round. I think he's good enough, definitely on a contender. Cowboys, Chargers, Chiefs, like
let's say it is the Cowboys. Let's play a hypothetical real quick. Let's say he goes to the Cowboys. Whatever their second round pick is. Say he goes there. Does he challenge what we've perceived as the top 8?
So I was asking myself the same question because he looks really good. And it's easily, you can say the top 3 quarterbacks are above him. Easily.
Right.
For sure. Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. Easily over him. Now, I don't know if you guys have watched Roman Dunze, but like I said before, it's probably out of Marvin Harrison Jr., I watched most tape on Roman Dunze.
Uh-huh.
It'd be hard for him to get ahead of Roman Dunze for me.
Okay, so you got Bowers and McCarthy then.
And then the fact all this news about people are trained up, like J.J. McCarthy's for sure going top 10, probably top 6. That means for sure J.J. McCarthy is there. And then we're going to be having the conversation, do you take J.J. McCarthy over Roman Dunze and Brock Bowers, let alone at 8 at this point? So that tells me, like, can he be ahead of Brock Bowers? And tight end premium, probably not as well.
Probably not.
So you're looking at pick number 9 overall. So pick 9 and 12. And we're not even talking about Ladd McConkey or Brian Thomas yet either. So, you're getting Trey Benson at 9 or 10. And I'll promise you this. If he goes to the Cowboys, for example, he will, and I would say, again, this is me just completely making up a number, but 17% of leagues, he'll go above pick 9. And a Superflex time premium.
It just makes
because dude, people
what about specific that number was?
17.
Running backs are too deep, dude. Everybody needs a running back. He goes to the Cowboys. People are gonna be salivating. They're gonna be going from 6 to midnight. And it's like they took a blue pill because it ain't going away.
And now you're
Consult
talking.
a doctor.
So
please.
what percentage would you put on him going from like anywhere from 6 to 9?
69.
Well, Rob Gronkowski. If he goes to the Cowboys,
Yeah,
I would say probably 25%.
Okay.
Of leagues. Because, I mean, if you're a tight end premium and say you got Dalton Kincaid and you have Sam Laporta, right? Like, you're going to... You need to run it. I understand the thirst on running. It doesn't matter what anybody says.
And no,
we're happy.
Yeah, they say we're not a data-driven podcast. Come on,
I've got
people.
facts and whole hard
no,
numbers.
we're being silly now, but for real,
Yeah. 25% of the leagues, I feel like you would go at least top. I think
in
you'd go
that
from
range
6 to
somewhere.
8.
Yeah, I think it's viable to think that he's, or at least,
and I think
it's not out of the realm of possibilities to think that he's going to go in that range if he's drafted by.
And the one thing that I want to say that's different from some other players that we've seen come into the back end of the first round in other years, this guy, assuming the draft capital we're talking about does actually happen, the tape backs it up, the draft spot, like all of those things actually back up for him to be worth a late first round pick. The Ronald Joneses of the world, the Keyshawn Vaughns of the world, those guys. What's that?
I said chill out talking about those guys.
I know. Kendra Millers of the world. Like those were running back 4 and 5 and 6 in their classes that were moving up because of need. No, we're talking about the number 1 running back in the class. It's just this happens to be a really stacked class at the top. So I just wanted to parse that out because I've told people before, like, don't just move up running backs because you need them. No, this is actually where he deserves to go as the number 1 back in the class.
Yeah, I think right around 9. But people have a need, for running back.
For speed.
It's going to jump up.
It's going to artificially push him up even more. Yep.
100%.
Last thing, I never actually said my score. He was the only one in this class to crack a 75 for me, which is fairly significant. I tweeted it out last week, but it's a pretty short list. He's one of only 9 guys so far that have cracked a 75 for me over the past 5 years. So it's not a huge group, and the guys in that group are really, really good names. So
I just realized we're like super close on him anyway.
Are we?
74.9. Yeah. So
okay. So yeah, we're crazy close.
Yeah.
I got him a hair lower, 73.
Hey.
0.525.
Matt.
But I'm just starting out here. This is brand new for me. So, I'm figuring out my way here.
Well, so far, I mean, you're pretty close to, you're in the range.
In the order, at least.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on from Trey Benson,
Guys, I got to tell you about my friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, they have the pre-NFL Draft 2024 Best Ball is live on Underdog. Draft your favorite rookie sleepers you've discovered in the Dynasty Nerds film room. Play in $3 contests all the way up to $1,000 contests. Draft your team and never worry about setting a lineup. You need to get in on this action ASAP. Sign up at Underdog with the promo code NERDS. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 for new members only. And yes, Dynasty Nerds is still giving new users a free Nerd Herd and Dynasty GM annual bundle membership with your deposit of $10 or more at Underdog by using that promo code NERD. So you get all our tools, all access to the Nerd Herd by putting a $10 deposit down in there. Your Dynasty Nerds promo code will be sent by email within 48 hours of sign up. New members only. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-HOPE-NEW YORK. In Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789.
get going on the next guy, Bucky Irving from Oregon. He's 5'9", 192 pounds. He's got 9 1/4 inch hands, 29 1/2 inch arms, a wingspan of 70 5/8 inches. He is 21. He'll be 22 in August. In the 40, he ran a 4.55. He had a 10-yard split of 1.54. The broad jump of 115 inches, 29 1/2 inch vertical. Last year, in 14 games, he had 186 attempts, 1,180 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, 56 receptions, 413 yards, and an additional 2 touchdowns.
So Bucky Irving out of Oregon, a name that's been one of the names that's been kind of floated out there for a while now. We've been, this is a class that wasn't as exciting at the running back position, so we're trying to find different guys to get a little bit of excitement around. And when you watch some highlights of Bucky Irving, I think there's reason to be excited watching those highlights. He makes some really nice cuts, some really nice moves, strings some things together, can catch the ball. But overall, when you factor in that he came in at 192 pounds.
192.
That's not ideal for a running back.
It's hard to operate in the NFL.
Anything under 200 is tough. And ideally, you want to be 205, 210 plus to really, be able to
withstand
the NFL punishment. So at 5'9", 192.
His BMI is like one of the lowest in this entire class, if you're a BMI guy. But it's just wanted to point that out there.
No, I think it's a great point to highlight. So I watched his tape with that in mind, trying to see, okay, smaller back, what can he do well? What can he not do well? And so while I was watching him, there are definitely things that I think he does well. I think he is one of the more elusive backs in the class. I think he's fairly quick. And for a smaller player, I was pleasantly surprised at how well he absorbed contact.
He operates pretty well in between the tackles.
Yes.
And he does a lot of work there.
He does.
I just don't know that he can do that in the NFL.
And that's going to be the issue with him. Mm-hmm. He's not an overly explosive player. Mm-hmm. For how quick he is, he's not explosive. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really have much of a power element at all to his game. He struggles in pass protection. There's a lot of question marks that I have. I think his vision's just average.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything special there.
Very average.
So overall, he ended up getting a 68 for me, which is not a death sentence at all, but it's not a positive. You really want to be above a 70, and he wasn't able to get above a 70. So for me, he's a guy that I'll keep an eye out for, but I am not going out of my way to draft Bucky Irving.
I'm not either. And I think a lot of what you said rings true. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have another gear. You know what I mean? He can't. If you're small and you're not overly fast, you're living on just lateral agility, and everyone in the NFL is fast. You know what I mean? You're not gonna run into the defensive linemen that aren't fast.
And they're more disciplined.
Of course they are. So it's gonna be harder to just down in, down out, do what he was doing in college at the NFL level. I do think he's good enough in the pass catching role that he could latch on somewhere as a specialist there.
He'll have to.
And I think that's his route to making an NFL team and kind of any fantasy relevance. And if he happens to land on some team that wants to feature that as a big part of their offense, then that's how he becomes fantasy relevant. And really, in my eyes, the only way he becomes fantasy relevant.
Yeah. When I put on my my kind of tiers of these rookie running backs before the show day on Twitter, and the number one comment I got back was like, "Oh, but where's Bucky? What about this about Bucky?" And I was like, "Man, what am I missing?" So like, I literally before the show went back and watched 3 more games that I did not watch. I watched a lot of tape on this guy, and I'm not gonna call him like sucky, getting on my nervins, you know. I'm not gonna say something like that, but like. You guys already kind of stole some of my thunder because I thought with like all this, like I've heard his name and everybody talking about on Twitter. I thought like somebody here would like him, but I'm already behind the car. I'm behind here already, but I'm with you guys. Like I just don't see the juice with him at all. That's my biggest thing is his size. Obviously, that's clear as day. His size is a problem, and yeah, he's okay in the passing game for sure, but like he can't pass protect. Like that's not very good. So,
I had him. He's the worst guy I've seen pass protecting. I gave him a 4 on the.
I have 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was generous with a 5.
No bueno. Like not between. Like some people say that between tech. I don't see any juice here, and it shows up on his athletic scores. Like, but it shows up on the tape first. Like I saw all that stuff afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, that all makes sense. Like he has no juice whatsoever. He can't block. He's getting pretty much what's there. Yeah, he can move laterally, but so what? That works in the scheme. Like Matt said, he can win in an outside zone scheme, something along those lines, where he could be fantasy football relevant. But like he's
just not even sure he's fast enough for that.
Yeah, and he's gonna be a change of pace guy.
I don't put words in my mouth. I never said that.
Oh, okay, that's what I said.
Pass catching role is how he wins in my eyes. That's it.
I do not see this at all. And the only reason I even have him where I have because there's a lot of people that I like in the industry that like this guy, and I'll take their word for it because I'm not drafted. I won't have any shares of. Like he has to get drafted to a spot that I'm like, okay, this works.
Okay, this is going to be redundant and silly, but I think any pass catching back that goes to the Kansas City Chiefs is going to have some value because they have a guy like Isaiah Pacheco on that team, and they have Jerick McKinnon he's 32 years old and he's going to age out of that role pretty soon. So him landing in that role might be the only way that I could see him having some fantasy relevance.
Will Shipley's going to the Chiefs, not this guy.
And that's fine because Will Shipley also does pass catching really well. And
better than this guy.
Yeah,
so
it's more explosive.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that
Bucky
didn't mean
Irving.
anything.
Yeah. That is the tricky part is
Come on, stop
just
bringing up
because they're a good pass catcher doesn't mean that
he was
use him
much better than Shipley.
So Bucky Irving out of Oregon, he's definitely a name you'll probably hear amongst names, maybe other analysts or even professional. But I mean, at this point, it's consensus. None of us like him.
I mean, he had my highest grade for elusiveness and contact balance. Like, I thought he was really good there. His leg drive was really good, but like you guys, I mean,
Contact balance. I saw him knock himself over it in USC. I thought it was so funny. I paused the tape so Matt could see it when he walked through the door.
It was pretty funny.
Dude, no, there's so many plays where I'm like, how is this guy not going down? He's 5'9", 195, and he's just taking all this contact, keeping his feet, and keeping play live.
A lot.
But anyway.
Even on the play that Rich is talking about where he got knocked backwards, he didn't get knocked down.
He caught himself for a second. No, he fell over.
Yeah,
Did he fall over?
His balance was really,
But he caught
really
himself.
good.
Yeah, USC game, the play before he throws the quarterback the ball. Like I had to show Matt the play. I had to go back. I'm like, dude, this is Bucky Irving to me. He just runs to the side, runs in the back of his own offensive lineman, and like he bends backwards, like he knocks himself down.
But he has. I mean, I see what you're saying about the contact balance. I think that lends to him having good feet and good balance. He just doesn't. He has no power. I mean,
yeah, no power, no
center of
juice.
gravity.
He'll have to be a third down back that catches passes to be fantasy relevant, and I have him as my 5th graded running back. So we'll see what happens with the draft capital.
So you like him then?
What number did you have?
Yeah, you do like him.
As
Yeah,
far as the scores go,
Please
yeah,
talk
he
him
was
up some more then.
71.5.
You're the outlier here. Wow.
No, I
pretty
mean,
good.
he's 5'9", 195, so the odds of him as a running back being a fantasy producer are like super low. So I'm like the nerd score is what the nerd score is when I watch the tape, but draft capital is going to play in and just overall like thoughts on logic exactly. So,
but you like him.
I think he's a solid back. Yeah, I just have a tough time seeing him being a producer. And a 71.5 is not that great in the nerd score anyway. Like,
I have a 68.
There's not many producers going back in like the combined score. 71 for me is like Kevin Harris, Jamar Jefferson,
those are good reference
Kenneth
points.
Gainwell.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gainwell. I mean,
I
those
like
guys.
Kevin Harris.
For what he's worth, he's my RB11.
I'll say this. I think Bucky Irvin's a fine college football running back. Very fine. It's just, I only look at these guys as dynasty fantasy football assets. That's where I view them as. What kind of rookie would they be? And I just don't see him turn anything that I want to put in my lineup on a week in, week out basis. I already can't find. Like, is he better than DJ Dallas?
No one's better than DJ.
No,
Yes.
that's why I looked at you.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't look at you.
For what it's worth, I mentioned he's my RB12 in the class. I only have 7 running backs that I would even remotely consider drafting before like the middle of the 3rd round of your rookie drafts.
Oh, 7, that's a lot. Yeah. Right.
I only have about 7 that I would really consider. There's a couple other guys that like, will I take a flyer on in the 4th round because of something, a trait that I like or something? Sure. But there's only 7 guys that I have any sort of confidence that they can actually make an impact in fantasy football.
I know, and I think that might even get uglier after the NFL draft.
It could.
It definitely
It
could.
could.
All
Because
right,
a couple of these guys are guys that I might like more than consensus.
So let's move on to the next guy that may or may not make this list of top 7 for Garrett.
Attention Dynasty nerds. Want to play Dynasty like a pro? Check out FFPC, where serious Dynasty leagues have thrived since 2010. You can dive into a world of over 1,500 leagues with stakes ranging from $100 all the way up to an elite $5,000 league. FFPC isn't just a game, it's a community. With unique formats like Triflex and year-round trading, it keeps the fantasy spirit alive all year. Here's my favorite thing about FFPC leagues. They stand the test of time. They've never had a single Dynasty league fold thanks to their orphan season. When you join an FFPC league, you can count on it staying around. They've completely revamped their Dynasty for sale pages now on the web and app, making it easier to scout and snag the perfect Dynasty team. Have you ever dreamed of turning a diamond in the rough into a champion? FFPC Orphans offers that exact thrill. Join the ranks of savvy managers at FFPC. Use our code NERDS for $25 off. Visit myffpc.com. Explore the Dynasty landscape. Find your next challenge. The FFPC, where your Dynasty journey begins. Remember, that's code NERDS for your special discount on your next league.
Dillon Johnson, Washington running back. 5'11". What'd you say?
May not.
And 5/8 inches, 217 pounds, 9 3/8 inch hands, 30-inch arms, 72 5/8 inch wingspan. He is 22. He'll be 23 in June. He ran a 4.68 in the 40. He had a 1.62 10-yard split. Not great. He had a broad jump of 117 inches and a vertical of 31.5 inches. Last year at Washington, in 14 games, he had 233 attempts, 1,195 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns, 24 receptions, 190 yards receiving, and 0 additional touchdowns. Rich, go.
Yeah, those combine numbers show up on tape as well. This is somebody who has no top-end speed, does not have a lot of wiggle in his game. His burst is average at best.
He's not great, but I thought he was a little faster on tape than 4.68.
Well, I mean, everybody when they're playing that game looks a little bit faster than 4.6. I'll give that. But, like, you could tell also, like, he's not outrunning any even linebackers at that point. So, but here's what, with him, I felt like he is what he is. Like, I don't see a player like, oh, he's going to get better at the next level. Like, where's that growth going to be? So, there's some things he does nice. Like, I really like him in short space. I think he's really good there. The way he can move in between the tackles.
He's good lateral jump cuts in the hole, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right there. He plays tough. He's you're not going to bring him down to a simple like tackle.
He's got above average, I would say, power.
I would agree with that. I think he had pretty good leg drive. Overall, and I think his power showed up in his pass protection. But overall, when you talk about a fantasy asset, he has my 4th lowest score in this class. Like I just don't see a route for him to be fantasy relevant.
I agree 100% on that.
It's gonna be tough. I agree. And the weird thing about him is he caught a ton of passes early in his career, and that dwindled down as he kind of went on. So he had 35 or 36 catches his first year, 65 his second year, 48, and then 24. So I think he's capable probably of being used a little bit more in the passing game if somebody chooses to. But I don't think he's a high-end enough runner to get that opportunity. You know what I mean? He's not probably he's probably not good enough to be a passing down specialist. So it is very difficult to kind of find an avenue for him to be fantasy relevant. So he's a bit of a conundrum for me.
I've got 14 running backs I just counted that I even just have on my board.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like late guys, like
so
Chase McClellan.
Is he off of your
he's
board?
off my board.
This guy's off your board.
Yeah. So like
wouldn't say
Isaac
he's off.
Guerrero. I mean, all running backs in the late could be on the board. Depends where they like. Listen,
Are you drafting 6 rounds? They're on my board.
Yeah, any of these guys who like if they get drafted and they're like, I feel like they could make the roster, be the running back 2 possibly on that list somehow. Like then they're back on my board.
And that's what I.
This receiving class is so deep. Like where I normally like, hey, I'm gonna grab all these running backs or premium positions. Like these guys are bad enough. Where like in this class is so deep, I'll just take the long shot on the gamble, who's the smaller school receiver that I like. That's the way I look at it.
Because don't forget, we wrote off another player who ran a pretty similar time to this. I did. You did. And all of a sudden now he's in L.A.
And I look like a smart guy.
So I just want to make sure that we don't eliminate guys just based off of, bad 40 or something like that.
Back of my board. Let me put it that way. He'll be at the back of my board, not off my board.
I'm going to see where he lands. There's enough there. I think that he does everything.
He's also old.
Okay. Nice.
My second worst score in the class.
So my 4th, your second worst.
This guy's just like he's hanging around Bucky for me. So I don't have high hopes for him or anything like that.
But you like him a decent amount.
Bucky. You have him close to Bucky?
I don't like Bucky a whole lot either, in fairness.
I thought he was so much better.
So
he was a producer. I mean, he did produce numbers. It was a very good offense. But
Yeah,
he put up numbers. Put up numbers.
Who's the other running back on that roster?
I don't think there was one.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, there was one, but
he had a big national championship game. He had a couple big runs in the national championship game.
I'd have to look. I'm not
He
sure.
had like 2 big runs. Like one was for a touchdown.
I'd have to go look.
all right. Well, no one here knows.
I thought he looked better than.
I'm going to move on to
Yes.
this other set of dual running backs from a school.
Yeah.
The first of 2. Kendall Milton, Georgia running back, 6'1" and 1/2 inches, 225 pounds, 9 5/8 inch hands, 31 3/4 inch arms, 77 1/2 inch wingspan. He is 22 years old, just turned 22 in February. He ran a 4.62 in the 40. He had a nice 10-yard split though, 1.51. Broad jump of 124 inches, benched 18 times, 35 1/2 inch vertical. Last year at Georgia in a timeshare. In 13 games, he had 121 attempts, 790 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 25 yards, and no touchdowns.
It's weird because Kendall Milton feels like he's been at Georgia forever for me, and maybe it's the Devy thing, or I don't know what it is. But when he came out this year, I was like, wait, didn't he come out last year? And then I was like, oh wait, that was Kenny McIntosh, I guess. But watching his tape. His body type, like I didn't even need the measurables. I can just look at him and be like, he looks more like a wide receiver than he does a running back. He's a very tall running back,
6'1.5".
You know, and if you're not packing on the pounds at that size, that's almost a little bit of a liability.
He's 225.
That's fine, but we have other guys at 5'10" that are 225.
Sure, no
doubt
like
about
he's distributed differently.
He is. He's built more like a physical wide receiver. And there were times that I felt like he kind of played that way, where he didn't seem like a running back that was a polished product to me. I thought he had good vision overall, so I gave him pretty solid scores as far as vision goes. But when I went through the rest of his tape, there were moments where he showed a little bit of power, but nothing to get excited about. I felt like his stride length was almost too long at times, to where he didn't have that quick, elusive movement that you typically expect out of running backs like that. That didn't.
There's something weird there with the speed because I think he's pretty quick. He doesn't have long speed. He can't toast a guy in the open field.
No. He's. I mean, and that's displayed by his 40. But maybe you guys will end up being higher on him than I am. I liked his running mate more than I liked him personally. I was not a big fan of Kendall Milton's game.
What's your grade?
He ended up having the 7th low score. He did get a 65. There's a gap there. There's guys that got over 65, and then there's a bunch below a 60 or at 60 or below. He got a 65, so he's not like off my board bad. But once again, he's another one where I don't know what an NFL team is going to see in Kendall Milton and say, we're going to utilize him in this way. Like, what's that trait that makes them want to use him other than he was a Georgia running back that has some tread still on the tires?
He gets what's there.
He's a Jag.
He doesn't have a lot of wiggle at all.
I thought he had pretty good vision.
Yeah, I thought he had good vision. I thought he had enough power there because of his size. But again, size wins more in college. Which he tried to utilize, like you said, in open field. Like he would try to win with power more than wiggle.
I think he knows that he doesn't have speed and movement skills to kind of beat guys that way.
His pass pro was good. I didn't mention that.
It was.
He did have one of the better pass pro scores in the class for me.
8 there. Yeah.
Okay, I had a 7.5. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job getting skinny at times.
He
in
is
between
skinny.
tackles. I know, but like find those holes through there. So I mean, he finished the year real strong, but again, he was on a real good team as well. But for me, for a guy who doesn't have a lot of high end speed, not a lot of juice, not a lot of wiggle there, a little stiff. As a running back, like that's just going to be a big turnoff for me because the odds of you ever becoming fantasy successful are slim to none because your opportunity to ever be a 3-down running back are extremely slim. So for me, he falls in the category of just like below like almost all the other guys we talked about last episode besides probably Wiley. He's in that same category of Michael Wiley for me. It's like same ranking category. Like, okay, round 5, maybe. Sure. If he gets drafted in 6th, 7th round.
Totally. Situational dependence. If I'm going to draft him at all, he's right there with Dillon as far as my nerd score goes. They are neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
Neck and neck in a
They're
bad
necking.
neck and neck in a bad area.
I'm so glad I get the lead on
He's
next
off
guy.
my board, dude. He's so low.
I've got such a good stat.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm ready. Well, next guy.
For who?
Are you good? You got anything on Keelan?
He's off my board. Like he's so low on my grading list comparatively speaking. He's 62. I mean, it's just I don't know if he gets drafted, but yeah. You guys are talking 5th or 6th round. Those guys, we went over the hit rates. I mean,
almost nothing.
Yeah.
Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty GM.
pretty.
You can use the analyzer. You can use the trade calculator. And my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we could be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your Sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats, and only on Sleeper you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friends sent them their way. And get your deposit match and have a good time. Have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out our DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate. All right, next guy up, Dillon Laube. Sorry, Laube.
Laube.
New Hampshire running back, 5'9" and 7/8 inches tall. 206 pounds, 9 1/4 inch hands, 29 3/8 inch arms. He's got a wingspan of 71 1/8 inches. He is 24. He will be 25 in December. Woof. He ran the 40 in 4.54 seconds. He had a nice 10-yard split of 1.52. He had a nice 20-yard shuttle of 4.02, and his 3-cone was excellent, 6.84. He had a broad jump of 118 inches, bench press of 23, and vertical of 37 inches. Last year at New Hampshire in 10 games, he had 158 attempts, 715 yards, 9 touchdowns, 68 receptions, 699 yards receiving, and an additional 7 touchdowns.
Rich has no poker face. He's so excited right now.
No, I'm not.
I was just waiting to see.
He's so excited to say something.
No, because
Go ahead, Richard.
we replaced Keelan Robinson with Dillon, right?
Keelan Robinson's like he had like 10 carries on the year.
I know, but that's what we
Yes,
replaced.
that is correct.
But we were originally supposed to do Keelan Robinson, right?
Did you do him?
Uh-huh.
That's all right. You didn't. There's
The
no.
funny thing is,
there's
you're like, text me so I make sure to switch it on my sheet.
I had to go to States. So anyways, here's my favorite Keelan Robinson stat at 5'8", 190 pounds. Average a touchdown every 4 touches. And an average 11.2 yards per carry.
For not the guy we're covering. Perfect.
Played in 12 games. Had 12 carries for 134 yards.
Excellent.
Sorry.
All right, back to Dillon now.
Yeah, Garrett, tell us all about him.
Go. Did you have something, Matt?
No, listen, here's a guy that is,
This is a guy.
he's 24 years old.
Not young.
Gonna be 25.
Definitely.
Whoa, Grandpa. And
We
running back
are
ages.
Ray Davis territory.
And he is playing against a lower level of competition. In the tape, though, I know the Albany one that we have up isn't great. They even reference that he's injured or a little bit nicked up in that game. Some of the other games that he played in, Dartmouth, for instance.
Ooh.
What they could do his homework for him afterwards?
He did really well, and he looked a lot more explosive laterally. And this is never going to be a guy that catches or that runs between the tackles, does anything like that. He's going to catch passes in the NFL. He was a problem at the Senior Bowl in the tape that I saw, just separating from linebackers with ease. He is that kind of guy that, and it shows in his 3-cone, 6.84. The dude can move laterally.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not he's able to stick around in the league long enough to get a role is my question, because he's going to be 25 this year. And how long does that kind of take to establish himself as a lower level competition guy? By the time he gets established, what is he going to be? 28, 27, 28?
Josh Jacobs is on his third contract
What's
by
his
25.
date of birth, Matt?
11/14,
1999.
1999.
Oh, look at me, mathematician.
I
So-
couldn't find it.
So it's just, that's where I struggle with this guy, because I like what I see on tape. I think, when I saw him at the combine, I was like, wow, this guy's got really good feet. He moves really well. And then when you start digging in, dang, he's 24, going to be 25. Then I see the tape, though, and again, I'm like, I like the way this guy moves. So
It's not because
it is the tale of two things, like, and how do I balance those two things? That's what's going to be the story, I think, for Dillon Laube.
Is it because he had so much time in playing college football, and the fact that he was when he was a senior in high school, these kids were in the 6th grade? Does that help why he looked better?
And I think we mentioned this a couple of episodes ago
Buy me
with
cigarettes,
these
Mr. Dillon.
with older guys. That's part of the thing that you have to look at. Like, he's a 25-year-old man playing against guys that are 18.
And
He's in his NFL
and-
prime right
and it's
now.
the FCS.
And it's a lower level of competition, right? So it is a little bit. It makes it more difficult to kind of have apples to apples
Is he older than
comparison.
Jonathan Taylor? He might be older than Jonathan Taylor.
It's older than a lot of running backs that are.
But regardless, he's really good at catching the ball. He's really good at
He is.
separating.
You liked him better than I did. I do agree that he does have good feet, and he does catch the ball well. There's almost zero power element to his game.
Absolutely nothing.
There's almost nothing there. I thought his vision was fine, but there were times where I felt like the patience wasn't there for what you would think of a 25-year-old.
He returned kicks and stuff like that, and you can see that, I think, when he gets to the second level. I think he's got good vision out there. I think he can do stuff there. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's used between the tackles. You know what I mean? very rarely. Maybe
He
just as
shouldn't
a
be.
just as a switch up here and there.
Right,
Like,
yeah, they run a random, draw up the middle or something.
Sure.
But
So I don't know that the vision issues will be that bad because I think he's good in the open field. I think he has that kind of vision.
Here I am thinking, look at me. I just crushed all of Keelan Robinson's carries in 5 minutes. From 2022 and 2023, all 29 of them.
Sweet, I'm done.
crushed it.
5 minutes. And come with these sweet stats of him averaging a touchdown every 4 touches, averaging 11.
He's like, I did the math on that one myself.
It's because I was all missing out on Dillon, so sorry.
All right. So you guys, anyone have anything else on Dillon?
I will at a later date. 'Cause obviously I have to
Laube?
go watch the tape.
I don't, and his film was tough to find, so I don't have a nerd score for him, nor will
Correct.
I'm
Unless
not
I
sure
can find
will.
2 more games,
Yeah.
I won't.
But
Because I only watched.
Matt, I'm with you. I mean, there were some plays that stuck out, and I thought he was like pretty quick. Size was all right, but we'll see. We'll see what the draft capital looks like.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't somebody that screamed, I need to figure out a way to get 2 more games.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get that vibe from it.
Just scream, I need one more year of college football.
I'm going to tell you what, because I did the YouTube stuff before I went to ours and found the Albany game, and that's one of the ones
We have Albany and we have Western Michigan from 22.
22. The 2 games that are out there on YouTube, check them out. He does look significant.
Okay, and that'll
better
give me
in
my
those.
4, so maybe I will.
Yeah, he really does look better in those.
There is a website.
Do
There's
your
a
jobs
website.
and watch the
There's a
tape.
website that has like all their games this past year. You have to pay $20.
I was talking to Matt about that. I was like,
I was like, it's not worth it.
Maybe
Watch Dillon
Yeah,
for
I know.
$20.
For specifically for him?
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we didn't
yeah.
do it. If there was, I was like, are there any other players that we need tape on
Yeah.
that we could do
No,
it?
it's
And he was like,
I
no.
think it was
I
like
was like,
Flow Sports. Or
then we're
something.
fine.
We are fine.
If anybody's got the hookup,
Yeah.
hit us up.
Yeah. If anybody has a hookup on any of these guys, like if
On
you're an
any
alumni
film, period,
or you're like the locker room manager or
If you just have access to all 22, we'll take it. We'll take anything we can get.
we would love to have access to.
And we have a lot, but we could always need a lot.
We always need more.
True statement.
Can we talk about the final running back?
Speaking of more, let's get on to this next guy.
Honey Daijun,
I'm sorry, what?
Daijun mustard.
Dejan.
Is that how you spell it? Say it, Daijun?
No, but it sounds similar.
It looks like
Is
that,
it day one?
Dijon?
Day one?
Daijun?
Daijun?
I don't know, dude.
Day
I
one.
have no
I
idea.
thought it was Dejan. I could be
Daijun.
wrong.
Day
What-
one
how do you
Edwards.
say it?
Dejan Edwards.
Daijun
I
Edwards.
haven't dated.
How did you think it was? Because we might be wrong.
Don't ask me. Daijun
Mr.
Edwards.
Edwards.
Unfortunately, when you watch all 22, they don't talk.
There's
on
no-
all
there's
22.
There's no volume.
talking.
And
And
we have
we
a
have the
lot of
announcers-
George All 22.
There's sometimes I have to go watch, like I'll go watch the
Yeah.
TV
just,
tape just so I can hear them say his name.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
I didn't
do
not.
that for Edwards.
I didn't on this one. Who cares? Georgia running back, 5'9" and 5/8 inches, 207 pounds, 9.5 inch hands, 29 3/4 inch arms. He's got a wingspan of 71 3/4 inches. I do not have a date of birth on this guy, so if anyone's got one, shout it
either.
out. Okay. At his pro day, because he did not do anything at the combine, he ran a 4.71. He had a 10-yard split of 1.63. He had a 20-yard shuttle of 4.32.
All the Georgia
He
numbers
had a
were
3-cone of 7.20. He had a broad jump of 114 inches, a 15 bench press reps, and a 30-inch vertical. Just don't test. Just don't test if these are going to be your
Okay.
pro day numbers. Last year at Georgia, in 12 games, he had 165 attempts, 880 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns, 20 receptions, 197 yards receiving, and 0 additional touchdowns. But for real, if those are going to be your numbers at the pro day, pull a hammy.
I want this to be known because I know what direction this is going to go. I'm okay with it. I want this to be clear. If the camera can zoom in, that's fine.
It can't.
Can you zoom in, Jared?
No, I can't.
Wow, we suck. Anyway,
Thank God for your visuals.
here's what I want to be known. I like him.
Okay.
I like Daijun Edwards. Here's the thing. Problem is, I don't
Great.
think he'll ever be fantasy relevant. But I really like
So
watching.
you don't like him because that's
I
what
like
we're
him.
talking about.
Look, let me say my piece.
Go
let
ahead.
me say my
You
piece.
say your piece.
Don't draft him, but let me tell you why I like him.
But why you should draft him. Watching his tape, I really appreciated Edwards from just a play style perspective because he's not the biggest guy out there. He's clearly not the fastest. He's not the strong. Like, all of the measurables for him are not in his favor. But so often he would either avoid first contact, run through first contact, or at the very least turn a half-yard gain into a full yard. Like, he was always pushing for extra, and he never went down without a fight. And while that is not going to translate to great fantasy days or anything like that, I do believe that there are going to be teams that watch his tape. There are going to be running back coaches that watch his tape that will say, I will draft this guy over X player,
Kendall Milton.
I doubt
over Kendall Milton because of how he plays football. Like I said, this isn't going. Would you stop?
I doubt it.
Stay behind. All right. So, all that being said, I don't think it's going to translate to fantasy points. I'm not prioritizing him in my drafts, but I do think he has a better shot at making a roster because of how he plays the game versus how other guys play the game.
I thought he was a good one cut and go kind of runner. I thought he had decent vision. I don't think he's overly fast. I don't think his burst is great, but I think that initial burst isn't too shabby. I thought for him, I thought he moved laterally.
That's a note that I have on him.
Yeah, I thought he moved laterally pretty well there. Those are the things I liked. I thought his pass protection was terrible. I felt like he tried to bounce it outside too much compared to like
A little bit, yep.
going after it. He just tried to find a way to bounce outside. Overall, like I didn't hate his tape. I thought it was just okay. There's some things that he does differently.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's like almost sometimes you're like, dude, are you still like you're like when we talk about like Caleb Williams playing off script, like it's like he's run off script.
Yeah.
But overall, like there's nothing he does special whatsoever. I thought his lateral movement for his size was pretty good. I thought he has a nice one cut and go and get what's there, and his vision there at the initial behind the line of scrimmage was okay. But he doesn't do anything great whatsoever. Down he break the initial arm tackle, but that's about it.
Yeah, no, there isn't much else I could really add because I agree with a lot of what's been said from Rich. There's just listen. He's a try-hard guy. I just don't think he's an upper echelon physical talent.
He's not an athlete enough. He's not athlete enough.
He's not athlete enough. I couldn't even say the whole word.
He's more consistability.
He needs a lot more consistability. Between him and Kendall Milton, I would take Milton personally. I know that you have that kind of the other way.
I do.
But it's pretty.
I can understand why Milton, like he has more physical traits.
He has more traits
to work with. So like I'm not going to if someone says he's off my board, I'm okay with that. I totally get that. I wanted to make a note that I genuinely enjoyed watching his tape because at this point I typically don't.
Sure.
Like, these guys are not fun to watch.
Oh, there's a guy that is going to be...
We'll talk. Next show's going to be a couple of them.
I get it. I mean, he's like dropping your beef jerky on the floor and then walking by the next day really hungry.
Yeah.
Like,
I can make that work.
You thought of
50-50.
that the whole time Matt was talking.
No, I didn't.
But, yeah, sorry. I don't know. He's just not quite there for me. But I agree that he's... And Georgia probably does too. He got more carries.
Yeah.
165 to 121.
I mean,
so they
played well against Ohio State in the...
I liked him more than Milton.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at us.
That's fine. I just...
Peppered beef jerky, I'm definitely stopping.
Teriyaki?
It's okay.
Teriyaki
Least favorite.
Usually a little slimy. And if you drop teriyaki on the ground, it would probably pick up a lot more dirt than a peppered.
It would, for sure.
Yeah.
Pepper, way more dry.
Mm-hmm.
Not as dry as our go-to.
Oh, the jar jerky?
Jar jerky.
Yeah.
Oh, it's extra
That
salty.
stuff is so good.
Extra
good.
salty.
We'll have some of that for New York.
Any negative commentary from you,
Yeah,
Jared?
Mr. Negative.
No, you guys hit the nail on the head.
Thanks.
Hater.
Call me Hammer.
Wait,
Time.
which guys? Was it me and Rich or was it Garrett?
You and Rich. I
said guys
paused
as in
because I
plural.
looked at my score and I was actually on Garrett's tab and not mine. I
You're
was like,
wow.
wait.
Wait, good grief, I like him too.
To be fair, my score is 66. It's not super high.
had
Oh
him at
wow,
I had him
my
at
score's
60.
slightly higher.
Oh, look at you.
67.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to tweak some stuff. I clearly messed that one up.
No, like I said, I'm not going to blame anybody for having him off
I
this
think
board,
he's
but I
on-
genuinely enjoyed watching his tape.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. You can watch all that tape in the Nerd Herd. Click that Nerd Herd tab, and you join the Dynasty Nerds film room where we have tape on old prospects, new prospects, 2025 prospects already in there as well. All 22 film. We have hundreds upon hundreds of film for you to watch. You can watch a guy like Keelan Robinson in literally 3 minutes.
Yeah.
His entire game.
All,
His entire career.
all 22 carries. Or was it 12?
Yeah, and some guys you'll watch their whole game. A guy like Trey Benson, you'll watch his whole game in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
A guy like Will Shipley, you'll watch for 9 minutes. they're different.
One thing I wanted to say, we're going to be doing an episode at the very end on guys that we might have not had the opportunity or time to talk about. There was one guy in this class, the running back out of Purdue, Tyron Tracy.
Yeah.
I have not gotten to watch yet, but I've heard a little bit of buzz on. I'm excited to kind of watch his game.
He had
and
good
see.
combine numbers for sure.
I watched some of his stuff.
Did you?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. So there will be a little bit more.
He made my board. He's on my list. If you see it,
There we go. So we'll talk about it
out of Purdue, right?
out of Purdue. Yeah. Moving forward.
What is he out of Purdue?
Be a few guys. Yeah. It's out of, I think
Tastes like
he's a
chicken.
Boilermaker.
I think.
Uh,
do they make trains there? What is it?
they make chicken.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, that's it. So check out the film room. You can do all that by joining the Nerd Herd. It's a great place to be this time of year and all year long because you also get access to the Dynasty GM, which has the league analyzer, the trade browser, the trade calculator, player cards, which are coming really soon. Your rookie drafts. You can mock draft inside the Dynasty GM. And honestly, you can do all this for free. All you got to do is go download the Dynasty Nerds app. A lot of that stuff is free on there in a limited way to use it. So even if you're somewhat curious about the GM and how it operates, you can go to your app store, Google Dynasty, or not Google, look up Dynasty Fantasy Football. We'll be at the top. Download the app and check it out. There's the mock draft tool you can use in there. If you're a Nerd Herd member, it automatically imports all your picks. So if you want to do a rookie mock draft, all your picks are in there already. And the most important thing is what's great about being a Nerd Herd member and what we designed the GM for as well is when you see a trade calculator and you see all these tools that operate off the websites and you're like, man, I totally disagree. The Dynasty GM is customizable to your own ranking. So you can put your own rank set in there, and the trade calculator, that league analyzer, the rookie drafts, all of that will be based off of your rankings. It's fully customizable to operate off of the way you see Dynasty Fantasy Football. So check it out. Download the app. If you like it, you want to turn it into your own, join the Nerd Herd. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can get extra podcasts, extra tools, extra tape, and the Nerd Score, all for the price of a cup of coffee. Just a little investment to make you a better Dynasty Fantasy Football player. We'll be back tomorrow with the wrap-up, the final episode of our breakdowns of the 2024 rookie running back class.
Adios.